Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It is February 11, 2015, and here's a look at our top stories.
Tonight, the Obama administration is calling for a 3-year military intervention in Iraq and Syria to fight against the very same terror organizations trained and funded by U.S. intelligence.
The people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago.
Then, the corporate stream media is stunned as they finally learn that there is no economic recovery. And a family asks the cops to check in on a veteran recovering from heart surgery. So the police break in and kill him.
He probably thought someone was breaking in his house.
All that plus much more up next on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
Could you imagine funding your opposition, paying somebody to break into your house or kidnap a family member? Well, that's exactly what the United States government has been doing for a very long time, whether it was back with Reagan and the Mujahideen or now with Obama and the Syrian rebels, the al-Qaeda rebels that have formed into ISIS. They broke out of al-Qaeda in Iraq and other places and now formed ISIS. And now he wants authorization, unconstitutional authority to attack the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. The Obama administration is calling for a 3-year authorization to intervene militarily in Syria and Iraq against the Islamic State, the terror army trained by the United States. Obama wants the new authorization to replace and update a 2002 authorization used by Bush to launch the invasion and occupation of Iraq. The 2001 authorization, put into place after the September 11, 2001 attacks, will remain in place. Obama has used it to justify conducting a drone war against al-Qaeda in Yemen and Somalia. So as I was saying before, you fund your opposition, you pay the guy to break into your house, and then you say, hey, I caught the guy who broke into my house. And that's exactly what's going on. And as we've referenced many times, the troops know what's going on. They say, we don't want to fight for al-Qaeda on Monday, then fight with them on Tuesday. They don't want to go through this whole thing and have to buddy up with the guys that they're supposed to be fighting, the guys that they were told were the enemy, but now they're our friends because we have political gains to get from them. So we'll continue to cover this as it develops, and you can find all these reports on INFOWARS.com. Now let's talk about the internet. Regulation of the internet, they've been pushing this hard, the cybersecurity bills, the CISPA, the PIPA, they always repackage it and try to make it a little more friendly, put more lawyer speak into it to make you, the viewer, think, oh, okay, it sounds reasonable this time. It's never reasonable, and it does continue with this. FEC to consider regulating online political speech. The FEC is holding a hearing today to receive public feedback on whether it should create new rules regulating political speech, including political speech on the internet, that one commissioner warned could affect blogs, YouTube videos, and even websites like the Drudge Report. The hearing is a response to the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in McCutcheon versus FEC last year, which struck down the FEC's previous cap on aggregate campaign contributions from a single donor in an election cycle. So as they're talking about here, they want to regulate the Drudge Report. They want to crack down on your free speech. And this isn't the first time we've heard them mention sites like Drudge Report, INFOWARS.com by name, because as you may recall last year, the Department of Defense came out and said, hey, we can't let people find out what we're doing through the Drudge Report. They're forcing our hands, making us tell the truth. So let's come out with our own softball version before Drudge Report can come out with the hard-hitting news. Of course, that's a paraphrase of what was actually said. But the purpose and the gist of it was correct. So as they continue to censor not only big sites like Drudge Report, they'll also come after the blogs. So you guys need to be very aware. It's not just the big news aggregates that can be affected. It's your own personal blogs and other things as well. Now, everybody's talking about the State of the Union, the state of the United States economy, and now CNBC weighs in. CNBC anchor stunned. There is no economic recovery.
It's not great. It's running where it's been. It's been the same thing for the last 5 years. There's no improvement in the economy. I do not disagree with they think it's reasonable. However, it's reasonable based on the assumption we're going to have an acceleration in underlying economic activity, we're going to have an acceleration in inflation, and we're going to have an acceleration in wage gains. And I haven't seen any of those basic assumptions come through, so therefore I have to sit back and question whether or not reasonable is based on a forecast or reasonable is based on reality.
And I love what the guy says in the full clip. He says these projections of economic recovery are just that. They're forecasts. They're not based on any actual data. This is what guys sitting around in a room would like to see. They're not actual reality here in the real world. So you can find this and much more in INFOWARS.com. Now, something I want to talk about, there's been a lot of, I guess you would call it anti-Muslim sentiment since the Charlie Hebdo attacks. And a lot of people are coming against Muslims, but you have to understand that the people chopping off people's heads and, ripping out hearts and killing Christian villages aren't Muslims at large. There are plenty of Muslim people. They woke up today, they went to school, they went to work. They're not a threat to anybody. But some people are taking it upon themselves to target the Muslim population. And we have 3 Muslim students murdered near the University of North Carolina. The nation is reeling after 3 young Muslim students were found shot to death in an apartment near Chapel Hill, North Carolina, late Tuesday afternoon. Police initially said 46-year-old Craig Stephen Hicks shot 3 college students who lived in an apartment near the University of North Carolina campus over an ongoing neighbor dispute over parking. However, Facebook posts made by Hicks prior to the attack seemed to espouse staunch atheistic rhetoric, leading to a question as to whether religion was a possible motive. The 3 students were 23, 21, and 19. And scrolling through the page, you'll see several tweets. It says, alleged atheists executed this Muslim couple and her sister. Religion is not the enemy, evil is. And scrolling down, more people are chiming in talking about how the mainstream media isn't covering this or isn't covering it to their satisfaction, because you see they have reports about robot dogs and other things, but very little information about the Chapel Hill shooting. And comedian Chris Rock chimed in, and I don't agree with everything Chris Rock talks about, but I like what he said on this. He says America's top news stories. It says you have nude pics on CNN, ABC's talking about Martha Stewart, secret cooking on Fox, CBS French baby swap, and NBC sexy symbols found at ancient cult sites in Israel. And none of them are talking about the Chapel Hill shooting. So, people are very upset not only about the shooting, but how it was portrayed. But we here at INFOWARS.com will definitely cover these type of stories because we think it's wrong when anybody's targeted in a hateful event, regardless of their race, religion, or whatever else. Just because somebody disagrees with you does not allow them the right to bring violence against you. And we'll move on to this, talking about violence brought against a man. What if you called the police hoping that they would save your loved one, and instead they showed up and shot them dead?
We checked, and last year, the Gastonia Police Department did 531 welfare checks. On Saturday night, they came to the residence twice, but both times couldn't get anyone to come to the door.
The only thing I questioned about it is why did they make a wellness call at midnight?
Neighbor Gene Clark told police Allen was hard of hearing, and he hadn't seen him since the day before. According to the search warrant, police claim the 74-year-old approached both police and firefighters holding a firearm after they made entry into the home.
And if you recall, last year we brought you the story how police were called to help with a suicidal teen. The police show up, the teen picks up a knife, and the police shoot the teen dead. And I don't bring up these stories to bash the police. The point I'm trying to make is if you call a police officer to your house or to a neighbor's house, they don't know exactly what the situation is. You're literally playing telephone. You call the dispatcher conveys the information to the police officer. It may not all been clear. They show up, they see a guy with a knife, they shoot him. They show up, they see a guy with a gun, they shoot him. Now, in the case of the older gentleman we were just talking about, the neighbors say he was hard of hearing, he didn't know exactly what's going on, and if you break into somebody's house at midnight, yeah, if they have a gun, they're going to pull one out. So, talking about it isn't going to bring any of these people back, but I think it is worth talking about so we can have better communication with the police, and the police can, consider, maybe using pepper spray, maybe using some other type of agent to where they don't have to shoot the person dead. Very unfortunate circumstance indeed. Now, unfortunate circumstance in the Bush family is Jeb's daughter. Jeb is on his presidential run, and his daughter was busted with some crack cocaine. This was reported by a Miami reporter who said that a judge had been overseeing the case for Noelle Bush, and the judge let her off pretty easy. He gave her 2 weeks in jail, and the judge also received a nice hefty $900,000 to a charity of his. And the reason I bring this up isn't to bash the Bush family. It's not to make light of the circumstances with this young lady. If she has a substance abuse problem, I definitely hope she has a happy, healthy life and can move past these issues. But the reason I bring this up is to talk about the drug war in general, because we all know that Bush, especially Bush Sr., was a champion of the drug war. We have to go get these drugs, get the drugs off the streets, even though they got Iran-Contra, and it was released, was it back in 1993, that New York Times article talking about how they were bringing drugs in the country, but it's an accident that guys like Rick Ross got them, whether you believe that or not. They're saying that on the surface that they're against drugs, but meanwhile, somebody else in their family gets busted on some drug charges, very serious charges. Let's take a look here. Prescription drug fraud, stealing pills from a rehab clinic, and possession of crack cocaine. What's that, 3 felonies right there? If you did that, you'd be in prison. You wouldn't be out on the streets 2 weeks later. So, you know, I definitely hope the best for Noel, but the Bush family needs to check itself because they would be quick to put you in jail. But when it happens to their family members, they sweep it under the rug and ask you, what's the quote he said? I wish the media would leave my daughter alone and just stop asking about it. Well, leave the other people's daughters and sons alone who get busted in this drug war. And I'm not here promoting drugs. I just don't like people giving all these strict sentences for using them. And we'll end tonight with this before we go into more special reports. Time to examine purposely cooling the planet. It's time to study and maybe even test the idea of cooling the Earth by injecting sulfur pollution high in the air to reflect the sun's heat. The idea was once considered fringe, and but they say it's no longer considered fringe. And the reason I bring this up is because people want to talk about, well, I guess it's been talked about for many years, chemtrails, persistent contrails, whatever the buzz term is that you use to describe these things up in the sky. Now, when I talk about this, are there condensation trails? There most definitely are. The planes flying high in the air and the condensation forms on the wingtips, and you get the streams going through the air. I definitely recognize that those exist, and I'm not trying to downplay that, but there are also things like this that exist. And you can see the plane right there. Oh, okay, hold on, let's run it back. Let's run it back and let people see all this that's going on. So you see the plane, well, even further back. Take it, yeah, okay, let's show them all. Okay, so you see a plane, it's flying right here, no problems, no condensation, no nothing. And just right here in a second, it's gonna pop out. There it is. So you can see that's not a condensation trail. That's a plane dumping, most likely purposely, chemicals or some type of substance into the air. That's good on the video. So, and that's the point I'm trying to make here. Are there condensation trails? Yes, but you just saw that plane. It was flying, no condensation trails, no nothing, and all of a sudden, it dumps it all out into the air. What it is, why it's there, I don't know all the answers as to why. I'm just telling you this stuff has happened, is happening. It's nothing new. They're talking about, they're putting out in this report, talking about they'll put sulfur and other things, or sulfur and other things into the atmosphere. But this is nothing new. It's been going on for quite some time. Well, that's it for this segment of the InfoWars Nightly News. Stay tuned because coming up after this break, we'll have a special report from Joe Biggs detailing the situation in Ukraine, as well as other special reports. Stay tuned. This is the InfoWars Nightly News.
The knowledge of the ancients, tried and true, trusted herbs and extracts fused with the latest nutraceutical science. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend, crafted with over 14 key ancient herbs and extracts to supercharge and prepare your body for what experts admit is the most dangerous season of the year. We have rejected hundreds of other formulations in our quest to bring you what is simply the most powerful and comprehensive proprietary formula that we have ever created in the realm of herbal immunity. For the last 2 years, our team has been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to develop the ultimate nutraceutical formulation. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. For a limited time, get 25% off on this introductory offer. Visit ancientdefense.com or call 888-253-3139. ancientdefense.com. Used since before the days of the Roman Empire to support the body's natural systems and enhance overall health. Introducing the new InfoWarsLife.com oil of oregano formulation, a highly advanced nutraceutical form of this key herb that has been traditionally used by civilizations for thousands of years to promote health. We have now procured the most high quality and potent forms of oregano oil on the market, sourced from top leading manufacturers to ensure a concentrated level of bioactive ingredients, extracted directly from the wild herb and sealed in easy-to-use capsules. You will no longer need to endure the burning of liquid oregano on the tongue. Wild crafted from the Mediterranean oregano species that experts agree is one of the most powerful and most challenging to acquire. This winter season, it's more important than ever to secure this true form of oil of oregano, now available in our limited first run at InfoWars.